Yo, got technical difficulties here. For some reason, the stream that I put out there won't doesn't want to work. I'm waiting here. Uh, the stream that was set up is broken on my end, so I started a new one. Not sure why. What's up, man? There he is. You guys made it. Let's wait a few minutes since I messed this up. Dude, Austin, I am going to assess your deal on here. Great set of pictures you gave me. Also, I don't know you all that well, and I thought maybe my shit talking made you mad, but I guess not. Can you guys hear me and such? Sweet. Give it just a couple more minutes here. Oh, that's good, man. It's a good sign. It means he wants to sell you his house. I'm gonna wait till 2:10 my time. Okay. There we go. Got the link fixed. Technical difficulties, that's all. All right, guys, here we go. I'm going to show you exactly how I analyze deals from my computer. So, this is the most important thing that you guys can learn. It's all about getting a deal on the front end. Now, the thing about it is you don't have a lot of time. The thing that makes deals happen is speed and volume. Okay. And so you don't have time to go to a property that you want to buy, take all your notes, go back to your office or your home or whatever, and analyze everything, get contractors in there, go talk to a realtor. By the time that happens, all the best deals are gone. And so you have to be able to make offers on the spot. And truly, the amount of offers you make, the amount of deals that you underwrite and see is what starts to build your intuition over time. Okay. And so I know a lot of you are probably thinking that, gosh, I have to have a whole bunch of skills to be able to make that happen. But the truth is, I owned a wholesaling company. And the way that we would do it is I would hire these like 20-year-old kids to come make offers. So in my best year, I bought over 100 houses, and half of them I had never set foot on. In fact, I still own some of those that I've never actually been to. And the way that we did it was a three-step system that I taught these guys to use. We built systems around it. We built tools around it so they could go make offers that we could actually back. Now, I'm going to go through those three steps today. And also, I'm going to go through like some more advanced steps that you might want to go through if you're actually putting your money on the line. But the whole point is quick offers. Okay. So, first thing is that you need to understand there's three ways to get deals, right? You go on the market, you go through wholesalers, or you go direct to the buyer. There's also like you could buy in an auction or a bank, but I'm not really talking about that. So if you're buying houses on the market, just think about it. If they've been sitting there, they're probably crappy deals because all the other investors have already looked at them and they've decided that this is not good for me. So that probably means it's also not good for you. Okay, so one way to get the deal is to be the first there. And being the first there usually means that I'm like, my wife owns a brokerage. So usually what I'm doing is I'm like, hey, put in an offer for $100,000 on this house. Okay. I didn't go to the house, it was sight unseen because a big part of this is that you want to preserve your bandwidth while you're doing this. You want to get offers out there, but you can't go to each one of these. I know a lot of you guys have jobs. That's why you're listening instead of watching. Hey, hey. Uh, and so you got to be able to make these offers. And so that's being first. And being first will get you deals sometimes because just think about it from the seller's perspective. They're a little bit less than confident about putting their house out there. So, like any offer is better than none. And this is the whole concept of being a market of one instead of the supply and demand of the big market. If you're the first, then therefore you are the only at that time. Okay, so that's being first. And then the second is having volume. So what a lot of people do is they just put out offers at scale. They go through all of the houses on the market that are in their buy box, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and they just make offers. And if they get one to bite, then they go take the next steps. All right. And then the third way to get deals is to have skills. So when I'm talking about skills, I'm talking about maybe you have construction skills and you know how to make more of your money on the back end, or maybe you have cost advantages. Maybe you're a realtor, own a brokerage. Maybe you own a construction company. Maybe you have some kind of lending connections to where you get that stuff for cheaper. That makes up a little bit of a difference. Therefore, you can buy a little bit worse deals. and you still have those cost advantages. Okay, so and then the third thing that is in the market of skills is marketing or sales skills, being able to really go direct to a seller and getting these deals. So those are the ways that you get deals. Now we're going to really focus on speed and volume. That's what this three steps is all about. Is first we have to identify what the house will sell for, the ARV. And we have to be able to do that quickly. So I'm going to use Austin. I'll use your example first. Let's see here. The first thing is that what a lot of people will do is they'll want to go find every one of the comps. They go do it manually, and I even have frameworks here. If you go to in the solo house flipper community, go to the classroom, and then if you go to downloads, you're going to find like the scope of work walkthrough, the ARV framework, the buy box cheat sheet. Those are the long form ways of doing this. But when you're looking at a deal to make a quick offer, what you do is, let's find yours. Okay, so this was Wake Forest. So you gave me your address, and this is the actual neighborhood around that house. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken everything that's sold in the last 6 to 12 months, and it's made a price distribution. And based upon that, I can see that I see this big bar here. That means most of the sales have happened right here in this range, 200 or 323K to 386K. And so I know that that's what houses are selling for that are somewhat fixed up. They're livable houses. These are houses that are being sold on the market. Now, I can see that some of the nicer ones have been selling over here. Okay, so I always go down to price per square foot. And if you've seen my ARV breakdowns, basically I'm trying to normalize everything to a price per square foot. And to go a little bit further on that, I never want to buy a house square footage that is an outlier. So if the median square footage is 1,500 square feet, I don't want to be buying 2,200 square foot houses, because then the normalized price per square foot doesn't make sense anymore. Okay, but I can see that the houses here are selling for 190 to 221 mostly, but I bet you this block over here are some of the more fixed up houses. All right, so the deal that you sent me was how many square feet? Tell me if you're there. I'll find it. We'll find it. Oh, 1320. There it is. Okay, so 1320 square feet times around 253. Okay, so we're thinking around 335 as an after repair value. And I always go on the low end, as you see. But this block here tells me that houses are selling for that amount. So I want to make this clear that this is different than a lot of people comp houses. And my whole strategy is about building around a neighborhood. I believe that you should know a neighborhood like the back of your hand. So it shouldn't be that I even have to look any of this stuff up. I'll show you. These are the neighborhoods that I market to. There's 21 neighborhoods, and I shouldn't have to wait to get if I'm trying to make a deal with somebody, I shouldn't have to go back to my computer and figure it all out. I have it right there on my phone. I look at the price distribution and I say, this house is 1,200 square feet. It sells for around $210 per square foot here. Boom. This is the ARV that I can work off of. Okay. Now, I don't know your neighborhood, Austin. So what I would be doing if I was you is, of course, learning that neighborhood. Okay. So I like this neighborhood because it looks like Wake County where you're at. is around a $500,000 median price, and this neighborhood is under the median. Okay. I like to be under the median. These are like Walmart houses, B class neighborhoods, maybe even C class neighborhoods. Those have the most space for flipping. So this isn't really a buy box uh, training here, but I like to be underneath the median. Okay, but I'm going to go through these different comps here, and I want to confirm that they are part of the same neighborhood because there are different streets within a neighborhood that some of them are nicer, some of them aren't so nice. And then I want to make sure that the construction comps are understandable. So this is what I'm expecting the house to look like when I'm done with it. Okay, let's just look at a few examples together. Okay, this one was obviously one that was needing work. Let's go to the price per square foot around where you're at. Okay, this looks like a slightly different type of neighborhood. It looks like is probably built later, so I can see that. The house that I saw from you was more like an older house. Okay, but what I'm doing here is I'm trying to figure out what the houses look like when they were sold, so I can figure out if the price distribution tells me what it should, and statistics always speak. So 253 per square foot. We have 1,320 square feet. I'm thinking 335 as an after repair value. This is quick, so you need to make sure that you back that up with actual evidence. Okay, and then the construction comps. I don't want to bore you guys by going through every single one here, but I'm trying to get an idea. Are these like A class luxury houses, or are they LVP? See, this house looks a little bit different than the rest. It looks like it's in a little bit of a different street, maybe a nicer area. Okay, we got the LVP, gray and white, shaker cabinets. All right, this is what I would envision as like a nice B class flip. Okay, so those are the construction comps. And now what I need to do is I need to figure out what the construction is going to cost. So I'm going to look at some of the pictures that Austin sent me. So this house looks like it's not been taken very well care of. So we got some siding issues here. I'm always looking for foundation issues. I'm also always looking for drainage issues, water that comes back at the house. This must be a picture of the HVAC. Okay, you can see, I'm assuming this picture is supposed to be of the fact that this brick cracked at some point. I can see that there used to be a wall here and they removed it. Generally, when I find stuff like this, it's done wrong. So you might look for signs of like drywall cracking and such that would lead you to having to have a little bit more of a construction budget for structural work, framing work. It's got this old heater in here. Does that mean that the HVAC is not working, or is this just old and needs taken out? All right, the kitchen obviously doesn't fit the construction comps that we looked at. I also see some cracking up here. I'd look into that a little bit more. Obviously, a clean out would be necessary. And then this is a picture of the electrical panel. I can see that they're like the newer style breaker. not like the old school fuse panels and such. There's not much to go on here. It'd be better to have more pictures here. This is probably what the wholesaler sent him or the pictures that he took. Okay, but let's go to the tools here. You can find these inside of the community. All right. So what I do is first quick six, right? This looks like it's going to be a renovation flip, not going to be a gut. I made videos on like the main types of flips and what all this means, but this is a renovation. That means that I'm not going to have to take all the drywall off, but I'm likely going to have to do significant renovations here. Okay. So first, I'm looking at HVAC mechanical. I'm not putting a replacement here. I'm putting a repair, right? Replacement, obviously going to cost a lot more. I think that HVAC is probably working. Okay. So a repair. Electrical, I'm thinking repairs, plumbing repairs. And I always keep budgets for all of these, even if I think there's zero, because electrical, you might end up having to, let's say, change the panel. And then I have some budget that I can move. Because a big part of this is, a lot of people think that there's some sort of magical calculations for construction. And the truth is that it's all a guessing game. So I had a guy that used to work with me, and he just started in construction. And I took him out to do the first bid. This is from my construction company, bid for a customer. And I'm like, all right, so we're going to do some floors over there. We're going to do paint. We're going to redo these cabinets. And he's like, so where do I find like the spreadsheet for this stuff? I'm like, well, let's call the floors $4,000. We'll call the paint $2,000, and we'll call the cabinets, let's say 3,250. That sounds good, right? And the point here is that all construction companies basically are shooting from the hip. Okay, so even if you do have a calculator for the things that are absolutely perfect, the truth is it is all about how you manage. And we just had an example in the community where Psy pushed back on somebody and the price came back lower. You guys saw my example where I started pushing on the things inside of a bid, and all of a sudden my bid came back lower. So the point is that the scope of work and the budget that you make is just that. It's a budget, it's a ballpark, it's a goal. And it's your job as a project manager to make that goal come to fruition. Okay, so this is it. This is a ballpark. Here we go. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, great. Structural, we're going to turn that up a little bit because we saw some potential issues, right? Roofing, I don't even know if we can see the pictures of the roof here. Can't see the pictures of the roof. I would say, judging by what I can see on the outside, that I'm probably dealing with at least a repair, if not a replacement. But let's go ahead and do a replacement. 1,320. I didn't see how many bedrooms and bathrooms, by the way. Okay, siding and windows. All right, we're going to have some repairs. I don't think there's replacement here. Drywall repairs, not a replacement, no gut. Okay. And since I'm not gutting, I also don't have to worry about insulation. And I have a little bit of a demo budget and kind of a clean out budget there. Auto ads, flooring, LVP, absolutely. We're always going to do that. Painting interior, most likely going to have to do all that. Hardware and fixtures. Every house should have the same hardware throughout: doorknobs, hinges, cabinet pulls, light fixtures. I want to go in and I want to change those all out to be brushed nickel or, matte black. And that way, when people come in the house, they feel like it's cohesive. So I add that budget for every house. Landscaping, basic. Handyman budget, because at the end of the project, there's always crap that got left behind by other contractors, and you just have to go clean it up. I wish it wasn't that way, but leave a budget for it. Construction cleanup after your job. These are auto ads. Add them to every job. Let's see, replacements. Okay, if I'm doing a renovation and I have to upgrade all these things. That's really the differentiation between a renovation and a cosmetic is I'm really going to go in and I'm going to redo the cabinets, I'm going to redo the countertops, I'm going to redo the vanities, I'm going to redo the tile. Okay, so I have budgets on here for all of this. Once again, guys, this is about being quick. Okay, so I have these fit in based upon the amount of bathrooms in here. That's why the only thing that you change is full baths and half baths, because that's going to indicate how many of these things that we need. And then we have extras, framing modification, deck, fence, garage door, shower door, tree removal, clean out. There is going to be a little bit of one there. Okay. And drainage, I actually think that there's going to be a drainage issue there just based upon what I can see on the pictures from the outside. Now, mhm, let's make sure we got everything. Exterior paint, we put that on there. I might take this up a little bit because of all that peeling paint. Somebody's going to have to scrape that off. There's brick out there as well. Okay. But once again, it's just ballparking, guys. Okay. So now my construction budget comes out to 68,693. By the way, when I'm on an appointment to buy a house, whether it's direct to seller or if I'm with a wholesaler, or if I'm with anybody who I am trying to sell on my viewpoint of that house, I am showing them this crap. And actually, I go when I go on appointments to buy houses, I kind of talk about the house uh, to my phone, which is got that on it. And I'm just saying, okay, I think I'm going to have to do this. I think I'm going to have to do this. And that way, the person I'm with is understanding that the numbers that I'm coming with don't come out of thin air. Okay, so now we go to the flipping calculator. This price is already loaded in there. We thought 335 was the ARV. You're going to confirm that, of course, Austin. Now, my acquisition price, 170 631. What did you say? Didn't you say like 200 is what that guy wants? Okay, now just so you know, the way this is based upon a 15% rate of return on the cash that you have in the deal, holding time 6 months, interest rate on hard money of 12% with a 4-point origination fee, other costs like title costs, closing costs around 2%, and then the cost of the sale, paying the realtor, the other side 7%. Is this a little bit high? Yeah, probably, but uh, I want to be on the safe side. I want to stack the deck in my favor at all times. Okay, so once again, the Flippo calculator that shows the construction stuff and the flipping calculator and the price distribution. I'm using that when I go to buy houses. Okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I think this house is going to be worth $335,000 when we're done with this. Do you agree? And, I get that number based upon this right here. You can see that houses in your neighborhood have sold for this amount. And, this is the shape that I'm trying to get it into. And this is the work that I'm going to have to do to get it there. Do you agree with all that? Okay. Yeah, you do. Well, based upon that, my offer is not 179, whatever it was, based on what we put in there. But my offer is 179, 450, or I think yours was 170,631. And usually what I do is I show them my phone with that on it. Okay. But imagine the difference there when it's clear that your numbers are coming from something, coming from a calculation that you, through your authority, through your experience, have derived. That makes a very large difference than the people who come in there and they say, I'll give you 210. It that indicates that we're in a negotiation. This indicates that you have it's a take it or leave it. It's not. We're not doing sales training today, but you get the point. Ian Harms. How to determine rehab budget for electrical. All right. as soon as I get through these DOAs, which is the next step, I'm gonna hit you guys' questions. I'll do a Q&A here. Okay, so you guys get it. Neighborhoods, it's all about neighborhoods. And I'm going to go back and show you how I pick which neighborhoods that I want to buy in, the quick six and the flipper and how I ultimately come to an offer. And that I know it seems crazy that this stuff comes out fast. It seems crazy that 20-year-old kids were making these offers for me and I was actually buying those houses. And it's because uh, a lot of it is due to the management on the back end, not on the front end. As long as you've ran it through the calculator and it's a good deal, there you go. Okay, now DOAs. There are certain things that make a house dead on arrival. And dead on arrival means never going to buy that thing, or most likely not going to buy that thing. Flood zones. If you are in Florida, maybe everything's in a flood zone. It's more about a flood zone that is not like other houses in that neighborhood or even that county. So, for instance, here, there are a few neighborhoods that have a flood zone running through it. And, like the 100-year flood zone. And what happens is people have to get extra insurance and it costs them a lot more because most people, when they buy a house, they're looking at their monthly payment. Well, their monthly payment goes up a lot. Therefore, the price of house they can buy goes down. Therefore, the value of that house goes down within that same neighborhood. So the comps don't match. Okay. And honestly, flood zones scare the crap out of people if they're not used to it. If you're in a place that all the houses are on stilts and everybody's in a flood zone, then it doesn't matter. So it's about things that are outliers to the rest of the neighborhood or the county in this situation. Easements. If you have an easement on your property, I would just walk away. All right. There are a lot of people who make a lot of money dealing with zoning issues, which is another one on my list, and easements. And it's a whole white collar admin type of play that takes a lot of time. And a lot of the things are out of my control. And I just would rather spend my time doing the things that I absolutely know work. Okay. Next is it's built into the setbacks. This is in line with the zoning and the easement issues, but built into setbacks. You can look at your counties have site maps, and these are just things you want to verify after you've decided if it's a deal or not. Okay. Houses on big hills, usually I will not buy them. Okay. But there are some things that are fixable, and it's something that should have red flags going off in your head. Pro DIYers, this is where you walk into a house and you can tell that a lot of work was done, but not by a contractor. These are things like there's like weird additions on the house. You can see that like electrical work was done and it's clearly not professional. I bought houses before where you get inside of the walls and it keeps on going. It's a can of worms that never ends. And projects that should have cost $50,000 end up costing $100,000 because somebody did some crazy stuff. Happens a lot out here. Trashy neighbors, people who don't clean up after them. So, I mean, I'm talking like tarps and junk and crap in their yard. That's a problem that doesn't go away when people come to buy. You can't get that sight out of their head. Okay. And then ceiling height. Some houses have lower ceilings than the rest of the neighborhood. You got to watch out for that. The house is not as valuable. And then no comps. Okay. If you go to a neighborhood that doesn't have at least 3 comparable properties, it is a rural house. You do not want to buy it. It's a dead house. The whole thing is about the statistical likelihood that a house will sell at X price. And if there are no statistics to base it off of, it's not a good deal. Okay. So, how do I analyze a deal or excuse me, a neighborhood? It's just like this. Neighborhood Explorer, there's going to be, I guess I'll have to send the link in the community now. But you just put in an address. And here's what I'm looking for. Apparently, I have to put in the whole address. Okay, so I want to see that the county that I'm buying in is performing better than the US as a whole. And I want to see that the neighborhood that I'm buying in is performing better than the county as a whole. That is the most attractive option. Think about the, circles, and there's the US, and then inside of that is the county, and inside of that is the neighborhood. And I want to pick the biggest winners. I want the most wind at my back. Now there are exceptions to this rule. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to look at this to get the gist. Okay. And I want a median value for that neighborhood that is less than the median value of the county. Median year built. I like to go in older neighborhoods personally. Older meaning like 20 years or older. I don't buy new stuff. It's hard to find deals that way. Okay. Owner occupied. When you see a higher owner occupancy rate, you're going to know that these are the best neighborhoods to flip in, because people want to actually live in the house. It's not investors buying to rent. Okay. But the highest owner occupancy are going to be the A class neighborhoods. So when you see like 90% plus, you're probably not going to find a deal that you can flip. Obviously, like doing high end flips where it's a high owner occupancy rate would be great. However, it's rare that you would find a deal that makes sense there. So what usually people end up doing is they buy at value or above value, and then they force the value in by skills like construction. Okay. Now we do want to have the skills like construction to force value into a house. However, that is secondary to getting a good deal on the front end. You see, you should be ahead of the money all along a project. You should, the for instance, Austin, the $200,000 house. Let's say somebody else might buy that house for 190, but you get it for 170. You are in the money from day one. And then you don't go demo that house and make it worth less. No, you're pushing forward all the time. So if I have to demo a house and make it worth less money, okay, it was worth 170 today. I demo it. Now I could only sell it for 150. That's not good. I needed to buy that house at 150. Get what I'm saying? Okay. And then if I'm assessing a new neighborhood, I might go look at the sold in that neighborhood. I might go look at what's for sale if I'm shopping. This is not the way I shop, but it is the way that some people shop. Okay. So here we go. Let me answer some questions before I get back into it. Okay. Austin, 3 bed, 2 bath. He wants 200K. Right. Good. Smart moves. And there's always more deals out there. I just realized that I wasn't showing my screen when I was showing that whole thing. Thanks for letting me know, guys. But the whole idea is the more houses that you can look at, the better. Because what people end up doing is they make crappy deals because they only see a couple of them from time to time. So you get all antsy and you end up making an offer or accepting an offer that you shouldn't have. So more deals is better. Ian says, how to determine rehab budget for electrical and plumbing without any obvious signs, especially in older homes. 50, 60-year build, I'm speaking. How to determine the rehab budget. Well, that is such a loaded question. I don't know if loaded question. There's just so many possibilities. So generally, when I'm looking at electrical, I don't know how technical we want to get here, but the first thing that I look at is where the power comes into the house. I want to see if that's new or old. If it's old, uh, then I probably am going to have issues throughout the whole house. Then I go look at the panel and I look to see if the breakers are the old style or if they're the new style. If they're the old style, I know I'm going to have issues. Okay. But the, I say, no, I'm going to have issues. The truth is that if somebody was living in there, right before you bought it, then the chances are that a lot of that stuff is working just fine. Okay. So it really depends here on what kind of renovation you're doing, how much stuff you're going to open up. Uh, if you're going to open up a lot of stuff and then you have to go get permits, well, a lot of stuff might be okay. However, the city is not going to accept it as okay. So then you get into a lot of grandfathering issues. I just made like a whole, I think a couple hours worth of a course off of permitting and such. But a big part of the game is just that. Like, some people are going to tell you that you absolutely, it's 50, 60 years old and you need to tear it all out. I think that the only way to be profitable in this game is being smart about what you do and you don't do in your scope of work, right? I talk about get better deals and have a smarter strategy. Those are the two biggest things that you can do as a successful real estate investor. Okay. Because you hear people all the time. It's a sickness that around here we call new builderitis. They come in and the only thing they know to do is tear it all out and redo it. And you hear people talk about it, these like new builderitis type of people. And they're like, well, flipping doesn't work. It's just like it's set up for failure. It's because they have bad strategy. That's it. They're not creative enough to figure out how those things work. Okay, exactly. Open walls up. I, I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yes. You open up the walls and it's a can of worms. Okay. And the thing that a lot of people are going to think here, especially if they don't like me, is they're going to think, oh man, it sounds like you guys are just cutting corners. No. Okay. Cutting corners is if there is a safety and liability issue and you don't deal with it. Okay. Yes, that is a problem. Okay. But there are a lot of older things. In my personal house, not the house I live in now, but the house before, my HVAC was original, 50 years old. And every contractor you talk to would tell you, oh, 10 years, you got to replace that thing. Roof is, 20 years or whatever, and then you got to replace it. No, man, if it ain't leaking, it's good. Okay. That's what a roof does is it stops water from coming in. So if it stops the water from coming in, it's freaking fine. HVAC, it blows cold air on me when I'm hot. If it's doing that, it's freaking working. Okay. So don't listen to these guys. That's the point here. And okay. So, and then plumbing, same thing here, man. It's a really touchy subject because there are a lot of houses that I own that have like old cast iron and it has galvanized or whatever. And it's working just fine. I mean, like if it wasn't working just fine, my crawl space would be full of crap, you know? And, but the thing is, if you go and pull permits and you were to, have to do any of the plumbing stuff, they would make you do a water test. That's where you put a plug in the sewer lines and then you fill it up with water all the way up to the highest point. And I guarantee you'll find a small leak. And so then you'll have to fix that. And likely, because it's 80-year-old cast iron, it'll break something else because you pull those joints off, and then it's an endless can of worms as well. But the thing is, the leak might be up a vent, and it's like, well, only air ever passes through that. Like it's the once in a lifetime situation where water would be all the way up there. So why does it matter? These are the strategic decisions that I'm talking about. All right. So your original question is, how do I determine the rehab budget? First, you determine the right contractor and the right strategy. You guys might or might not know, I own a mechanical electrical plumbing company as well. And my goal is to do the least amount possible and still pass inspections. And I think that your contractor should have the same mentality. However, they probably don't because they're more worried about their reputation with the inspector. So you have to come in and manage. Does FHA financing affect anything for buyers that could force repairs? Well, when you're buying it, certainly. So you go to buy a house online or, on the market online, same thing. And you get the FHA financing. FHA is going to do an appraisal. Okay. The bank does the appraisal to make sure you're not buying a crappy deal. And then the FHA comes in and they do some sort of inspection for like safety and liability repairs. And a lot of times, so you have, hey, brought this for a reason. On a closing, you get the house under contract, right? You're under contract. Then you have an inspection resolution. That's where you, as the buyer, call in the inspector, a home inspector, not the city inspector, to do an inspection of the house. They find all kinds of crap. No matter how hard you try, they find all kinds of crap. And then you negotiate back and forth. Hey, I want $5,000 off the price, or I want you to fix X, Y, and Z before I'll move on. Then they decide to move on. And then you have the appraisal. Okay. And that's your lender, the bank, getting it appraised to make sure you didn't buy, you didn't offer too much for the house or whatever. Okay. And then if it passes appraisal, and sometimes some of these things happen all in the same, but with FHA, they're going to have another inspection done. So this is an FHA inspection. And they come and find things like, this deck is going to hurt people. The paint is peeling. That's a common one that comes up on FHA. And then it's just another negotiation, just like anything. And that I know I talk a lot of crap about buying houses on the market, but one of the big advantages, if we want to get into a little bit of strategy here, yes, being first, yes, sending out lots of offers, but the other thing is you get to go under contract, and as a buyer, you have like all the avenues possible to get out of that contract. There's, the different contingencies like the inspection resolution, appraisal, if you're getting financing. And, if you were a person who buys on the market, you might use that as strategy in your favor. For instance, I was selling a house, and I go to sell it to these people. They get the inspection done, and they get me with a couple of things or whatever. And I'm like, whatever, I just want to get it done, get my money out, go to the next one. And then, dude, it comes like 2 days before closing. I think we had it sold for like 220. 2 days before closing, and they're like, hey, we can't do it. We'd do 200 though. And it's like, well, shoot, like I gotta go all the way back to market, all this stuff. And I think I ended up taking it. It was in a partnership or whatever, and we wanted to move forward with the next one, or already had the next one lined up. And certainly, we could have like pushed back legally on something like that. But are you going to, tie up the deal for even longer? Probably not. So there are investors out there who use legit strategies all the way to some pretty dang shady tactics. Okay. What else you guys got? Anybody? Any questions? Okay. There we go. Is it worth it to get a realtor license? Personally, I think it's a hindrance for some of you. Okay. And I'm a little bit out of my depth here because we're talking legalities now. Okay. And so take it with a grain of salt. However, when you're a realtor, so for me, I pretty much buy no deals on the market. even though my wife owns a brokerage, like I don't even bother giving offers for houses on the market because it's all, there are strategies like I was indicating, but you got to be fast. You got to be sending out offers all the time. And then you got to go through all these steps all the time. And that's just a lot of bandwidth. So I'm big on protecting my bandwidth. So I don't buy a lot of houses that way. Also, don't buy a lot from wholesalers anymore because you got to keep up those relationships or be finding the new ones all the time. So I do everything off market. Okay. All I do now is I send mail to people and wait for them to call me. Okay, that is exactly how I do it, and I know most of you guys know that. I'm now promoting homebasemail.io, which sends mail for you. But I'm being serious. That is exactly what I do to get deals. Okay. With that being said, if I was a realtor, there would be more rules that I had to follow. Okay. And technically speaking, a realtor is supposed to be doing what's in the best interest of the person, the seller or whatever. And I mean, I can guarantee you that the best deals are probably not in their best interest. Okay, there are other options, and the thing is that they usually sell off market because they don't want the headache and they want the speed and all that kind of stuff. But if you were being by the book as a realtor, you'd probably need to explain all of the options. And then would that be the best pitch as somebody trying to get a house off market? Probably not. So that hurts. Okay. And then there are advantages. However, you will run into some deals that you might not otherwise run into. So it's not like the end of the world. It's not all bad. I see people do it successfully all the time. Um, but it's a bandwidth thing as well. Uh, the the best thing that you could possibly do is streamline it all. So I see realtors who they do like a cash offer front is a bad word, but they're marketing as a cash offer for these people, and their main goal is to get listings. That's a great strategy. There's a million different strategies. Just it's not generally what I teach. So for what I do, it can be a hindrance, I guess is the best way to say it. Great 1-2 punch is if you potentially are like a guy who likes to buy off market deals and you potentially have a wife who is a realtor. That's good. Okay. Oh man, lots of questions. Just real quick, don't get discouraged if you are a realtor. That's just it all works. Okay, I've got a property that the fence is built over the neighbor's lawn. Do you think demo just that part of the full fence? I wouldn't do anything until I was forced to. There's right behind me. There is a stack a mile high of mail because I'll just do it when somebody's knocking on the door, I guess, and I have the same kind of mentality with a lot of the stuff, uh, neighbor on a house that I'm, uh, getting fixed up for a rental is like calling the office line saying, "Hey, we got to cut down these trees." And I'm like, why? So there you go. That would be my answer. And they might not like you for it, but whatever. If they're paying for it, great. Yeah. If it improves your property. I got a question unrelated to analyzing a deal. That's all right. We're here now. What activities do you set aside once the rehab is done? Tours are happening constantly, so the house gets dirty. And about landscaping, cutting the grass. Oh, yeah. Well, you got to do that stuff. Um, the I mean, as I've indicated here, and you guys might already know, my wife is a realtor, and just like when I'm at home, she doesn't like it when things are dirty. So I have extra exterior motivation to keep that crap clean. I don't even need to set an alarm; it's set for me. So that's the answer on that one for me. But there is on market maintenance things. You want to have like in your truck or your car or whatever, get a Swiffer, get the smell good like Glade plugins, the blue stuff that goes in the toilet. I think that's pretty cool. Makes it seem cleaner. And then the uh, WD-40 is a good thing because doors start squeaking. You might get like the stick on threshold stuff. So that way, if you see like daylight through doors, you can get it on there. That's a really big turn off to people. So yes, it is a job when things are on market. Yeah, yes. So the fiduciary requirements for a realtor, you just got to know the rules here, and all rules are bound with some loopholes. You need to find them and make sure you're doing right, but you gotta do what you gotta do here. I've gotten an official survey, and it's just what the neighbors told me, but I'm thinking demo may be cheaper. But I'm worried about demoing the left section of the fence, and it looks awkward. Well, the thing that I keep coming back to is who's making you do it? Is it they're making you do it because they don't like it? If that's the case, then they should pay for it. And you know, shut off your phone. That's it's a good strategy. Hello, this is thank you. What is your monthly spend with direct mail? KPIs for your deals. Monthly spend to acquire a deal. Hey, man. Uh, well, I can show you exactly. Now, I just moved things over to my new CRM, and so it's only the last, I think, maybe 2 sends. But I send to 21 neighborhoods, 2,165 houses. And so the neighborhoods cost me about 3 to 4 grand a month is what I'm spending. And let's see, this is per neighborhood. Okay, just recently, 3,368 mailers sent, response rate of 0.6%, and qualified replies are 12. So I do a few things. I want to know what my response rate is, even if it's an FU piece of mail. Okay, because an FU piece of mail, that just for you guys that haven't done any outbound marketing like that, there are some people that aren't very happy that you asked them if you could buy their house. So anyway, I still track those responses because it tells me that the postcard front that I'm sending them got their attention enough to turn around to the back. So I want to know that. But then I also separate out the qualified replies so I can see who actually wanted to sell me their house because, I use handwritten fonts and I vary them. And I also split test, A/B test the copy for different audiences. And I want to know what's working. Okay. Legal disclosure. Oh, I think you're talking about the realtor for 30 years, lots of rules and more rules every year, as goes for everything. Bob. Yeah. Contracting as well. The board wouldn't have a job if they weren't making more rules, Do you have any recommendations for starting out in off-market purchases? I do, man. And I don't want to sound like I keep pitching this product, but this product, I had it built because it's what I truly believe in. I believe it's all about the deal. I think that it covers up all of the issues that you're bound to have as an investor, myself included. I mess up project management. I do stupid things. Budgets run in the construction like I wish they wouldn't. And things take me way too long. I have a flip sitting here that's like 6 months and I'm not even to final inspections yet. Okay. And, I run multiple projects at once. And why? Because I buy houses for so dang cheap that it doesn't matter. It covers up all my suckiness at times. because I'm not paying attention because I'm doing live streams with you guys. Okay. So what I do is simple. I build a solid list and I send mail to them. What I believe that a beginner should do is it depends upon their situation. I truly believe that a beginner should buy a house that they're going to live in. Okay, that would be the best thing, because that gives you the things that I'm trying to achieve by going off market, which is having time to make mistakes, because I know I'll make mistakes, especially when you're first starting. So best case scenario is you need to live somewhere. So you're already paying to live somewhere and you buy a house, FHA, 3.5% down, save all the cash that you can. And then instead of paying rent, you're paying off the mortgage. Even if the interest rates are high, even if it could have been better to rent, who cares? Just get in the damn house and start working on it, and you'll learn so much. And I think you should do as much of the work as you can on your own. FHA is not going to lend to you if the house is not livable. So the house is livable, work on it while you're doing that. That is the low amount of money way. The lower amount of, well, I guess we're not talking about how to get started. All right. So how to get started. Yes, I would buy a house like that, and I would just buy that house on the market. But as you advance, okay, if you don't have much money, I would probably cold call, and it sucks, dude. It sucks. I don't like it. And I don't know very many people who do like it. Okay. But if you have no money, you get a list, you skip trace their phone numbers, and you just start calling. Okay. And you'll get a deal. If you work hard enough at it, you will get a deal. And any deal is money in your pocket. One of the guys who used to bird dog for me, Curtis, he was like 20 years old, right? He retired with me. And, dude owns a few quadplexes now. He's getting deals, and he's like always laid back. He's not married, doesn't have kids. And I'm like, does this not make you nervous, man? And he's like, doesn't matter. If I need money, I'll just send out mail and I'll get a deal and it'll be worth money to me. Right. Because if you have a deal, there's a million ways to make money on it. Did I answer that question? Went off on a tangent. Sorry. Okay. Recommendations for starting off. Yeah. Or of course, biased, use the product and send mail and wait for them to call you. But to send mail costs money. Okay. That's the downside of sending mail, is you got to have some cojones on you, because it means that you send money out into the void and you hope it comes back. And, you saw I send 2,000, sometimes 3,000 mailers out, and I get some calls. Sometimes I get less calls. Okay. Usually 2,000 cards will turn into a deal or two. Okay. And I'm good at sales, so that helps. But also, if you go buy from a wholesaler, probably you spend $20,000. It's just on the back end. And if you buy on the market, you pay way more than that. Any reason not to do new construction? Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, of course. But my strategy is all about risk aversion. Okay. I think that you make it by staying in the game long enough to develop intuition that will help you make money at will. Okay. And basically, to me, risk is associated with the distance away. All right. So you have like this. Here is a house that's livable. After that house is livable, it is monetizable. That means that you can sell it, or you can rent it without taking an enormous haircut, or you can get it refinanced, whatever. It's got to be livable. Okay. So in my opinion, in a house that I might buy it livable, and then it needs a cosmetic renovation to get it to like the nicer, more expensive houses in the neighborhood. Or maybe I buy something that's over here and then I have to push it over the line of livability. Okay. Or I buy like a gut. I got to take off all the drywall and then bring it all the way over here. Okay. But the distance that I am away from this spot where I can monetize something is also risk. And New builds start right here with land. It is not worth more than the land until I get it all the way over to here. That's a lot of risk, and I'm not down with that. Okay, now I might do new builds. I have done new builds, and I'm doing a commercial development right now. But the thing is, if you look at my portfolio as a whole, the risk profile is much lower. I earned the right to go take that risk, is the way that I look at it. Okay. Okay, let them demo if they want it gone. Yeah. Okay. Best way to start off market is driving for dollars. Yes. Okay. Driving for dollars. That means you drive around looking for the crappy houses that look like they're not taken care of well enough, or, there's lots of different strategies there, but there's still an outbound aspect. You either get the person's phone number by skip tracing it and call them or text them. You send a mail. You have to contact the person somehow. But yes, that is a very targeted way to do it. I even know people who door knock. Never done it, so I can't tell you about it, but I know that people swear by it. Okay. How many deals are you closing per month? How do you handle all of the calls, or do you have an answering? No, just, I mean, like I said, sending a couple thousand mailers is not going to get you that many calls. And, the response rate is low, but it's good, because the people who see a postcard, it's like, they're not stupid. They're like, oh, I know what this guy's about. He wants a deal. So if they call me, I know that they know, they've probably looked at the website. They know what I'm doing. They've read the card. They know what I'm doing. And so if they've picked up the phone to call, it's either telling me F you, or it's because they want me to come by their house. It's the warmest lead I can get. So no, I answer them personally. You want to get a hold of me? Call my postcard number. But anyway, yeah, that's it. I answer 100% of the time. Back when I was buying 100 houses in a year, no, I didn't. I had the bird dogs that were working that stuff. I would send mail, to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars of mail every month. It was closer to every door instead of the targeted lists that I use now. And they would answer them and they would follow up. We were doing cold calling at that time, text messaging. We were doing all of it at that time. The marketing budget was high. Okay. House hack every 2 years. Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely. Probate, city code violate. Yes. City lists. Mail at least 500 a month. Yes. What type of list do you attack? Man, I love where this is going. However, I did not plan this. Okay. So this is what I do. This is the problem, is that a lot of people talk about list stacking. This is where people get confused about lists and such. Is when you go look at this stuff, okay, if you go buy a list, let's say, list source is one that people use a lot. Okay. And it's like, I know I felt this way when I started. What the hell do I do? Okay. Build a list. And then it's geography. You got to put all these things in. There's like a million parameters, right? That's just geography. Then there's mortgage data, there's property data, there's demographic data, there's foreclosure data, predictive analysis, which usually sucks. But anyway, all these different things. And then what you do from there is you take that list, and then you have to go find somebody who markets. Either, you use the list to skip trace, meaning you get their phone number and email address and contact them that way, or you have to go to a mailing house to go get them mailed. Okay. But the problem with these things is that it's list stacking. So list stacking means all those different parameters, you stack them on top of each other. And when you do that, the funnel gets squeezed. So these people go into the funnel and it gets squeezed by all these different lists. So by the time you get out of there, you just got, a couple little guys that you can send mail to. And the thing is, since everybody is list stacking, that means that everybody is contacting that same list. That increases the amount of FUs that you get. Okay, so then the other option is to go broader, put less filters on there. And then you have the situation where, there you go. You got them go in, then I'm going to draw 3 guys. That's what, because you're not really filtering any of it out. So you're spending a crap ton of money sending to people who were never going to sell their house. Okay. So here is the antidote. It's a multitude of lists. And, I used to try to do this with things like ListSource, but it meant that I was basically making double-digit lists every month to send out. So what I would do is I would first do a buy box filter. Okay, so this is, I take, the size of house per neighborhood. Okay, per neighborhood, the size of house. So I would take like the median, and I would be a little bit above and a little bit below the median. Same thing with the years built. Same thing with the values based on tax assessment. Okay, so that way I knew that what I'm marketing to here is close to what that neighborhood looks like. Because once again, we don't want outliers. Okay, so I go through the buy box. After I've gone through the buy box, I take all of those people, bunch of guys, imagine that. Okay, and then I split them up into 4 different types of guys. Okay, there are 4 different types. There's owner occupant. That's somebody who lives in the house. It's their primary resident. There's a landlord. Okay, landlord is somebody who has a different address than the site that you're marketing to. There is an heir. Okay, these are people who have been given a house or sold the house for super cheap by somebody at within arm's length, right? Somebody they're related to. And then there's flippers. Okay, these are people who are buying the house short term, and there's different indicators that tell us what flippers are. Okay, so now that I've separated these into the 4 different groups, then I have filters for each one of these. Like for instance, an owner, well, owners never get good deals. So I don't want to have any owners on my list that have bought their house within the last 5 or 6 years, depending on, the market trends, because I know they didn't get a deal. I know I can't buy it at, 50 or 60% because they have a mortgage that's higher than that. Okay. I don't want somebody that owns more than a couple houses because then they're actually an investor and they're not going to want to sell to me. Okay. Whatever. There's around 10 different parameters for each one of these. And now after I have these 4 different lists and I have them filtered down, then I have a whole bunch of different things. So this is where, like you're talking about the tax delinquencies, owner liens, like if it's a landlord, if they have a vacant USPS, meaning mail can't get delivered there, that means they have a tenant who's non-responsive, probably a headache for them. Evictions, code violations. Okay, so each one of these lists have, each one of these types of owners have different motivations, up to 49 of them. And each one of those make a list, right? So 4 times 49 is around 200, but not each one gets each motivation list. But now I have 200 lists. Some of them have 0 people on them. Some of them have 20 or 30 people on them. And then I compile all of those. That's who I send mail to every single month. The most motivated people possible. How about that? Okay. House hacking every 2 years. Yeah, we hit that one. Boom. I don't mind cold calling. Come work with me. How do you recommend skip tracing? The skip tracer, I forget the service that I used. They were out of Texas. Before that, I was using Lead Sherpa, but Lead Sherpa kind of got hit hard by like Lead Sherpa was awesome with SMS before SMS got shut down. I mean, that was like the heyday of off-market buying. It was so easy. So there's this company out of Texas that like their name was Skip Trace something. I don't remember, but that's who I ended up using for a while. I don't skip trace anybody anymore. I used Property Radar before, but I don't skip trace because I just don't reach out to people that way. When people call me inside of the system, I put their name in or whatever, and that lead gets then their phone number gets tracked. But before that, I don't have their phone number. Everyone, hi, equity owned over 5 years. Yep. All of it, man. Everything that I could possibly think of. I even have, what I call virtual driving for dollars, which basically I take like the tax assessed values and then I find the ones that were tax assessed for certain percentages less, plus a couple other parameters. That tells me that somebody who went out there said, oh, that house is different than the other ones in a way that might lead to a deal for me. I use Deal Machine. Yep, use them. Good. Mail is best and consistent. Yes, and it will never go away, I think. Thoughts on wholesale strategy? Livable, days on market low. Uh, okay, wholesale strategy, you mean like a strategy where you're going to get a house under contract that's already on the market and then wholesale it? And wholesale, just to make sure that we're all using the same terminology here, what wholesale means to me is that I buy a house, I actually take ownership of it, and then I go sell it right away. Uh, as to be differentiated from wholesaling, where I get a house under contract, I don't actually purchase it. I sell my position in that contract, and the person that I sold my position to actually closes the deal. So wholesale means I do front the money. But cosmetic only, I mean, if it required more than like a couple $1,000s worth of work, I would call that a flip, like a real flip. As opposed to a wholesale means I basically don't have to touch it. It doesn't matter. These are semantics. Okay. But so certainly if you're calling it that, I call that a cosmetic flip, and I love this strategy. And wholesales, I love that too. If you have the skills to market and do sales to get those kind of deals, guys, get off the phone, man. Doesn't even matter anymore. You have made it. Okay. If you know how to go get deals that you can turn around and sell for more tomorrow, you have made it. You will be successful in this game. I guarantee it. You can make money at will, quit your job, doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. So the full guts and such, guys, it's like, I started a construction. I think you guys know. I grew my construction company, and because when I started out in the game, HGTV, man, I thought that's what you did is buy these houses and do these big renovations on it, and you know, I realized quickly that to really make it work, the bigger the renovation, the more money you could make. So I would buy houses basically at value, and then I would take the roof off, build second stories. And this was back in Colorado. So, houses were selling for 500, 600 bucks a foot, and it would cost two or $300 a foot to do the renovation. Well, that made sense, right? There's a spread there. However, at some point I realized, well, I'm just making money as a construction. This is like an advanced way to make money as a construction company. I'm not actually making money as the investor. I'm not making money off of the deal. Okay. And so renovations, big renovations, full guts, they're great. I still do them. Okay. But you got to make sure that that's not the only place you're making your money. The place that you're making your money is because you got a deal in the first place. What do you guys think? Anybody got any questions? Going once. Questions. Going twice. Oh, if you were starting over, how many flips or profit would you do before you started renting? It's a good question. It's going to be dependent upon the person. It's going to be, you know, I have three, soon to be four kids, and I have responsibilities that I would need to account for. So my living expenses might be different based upon that. My floor would be different than it was in my 20s when I was growing my business, where I'd sleep on the floor of these job sites and, eat crackers or whatever. I didn't. I ate tuna because the protein. But anyway, cheap. You get the idea. Okay, so if I'm able to do that, that means I need less cash of a cushion, because cash is the oil to the machine of your business. And if you run out of oil, the machine locks up. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have enough oil or cash. And what that means to me is that you need to, anytime you go buy a deal, you need to have the construction conservatively, the construction and the other costs associated with the deal, conservatively estimated, and you need to have that money put aside, escrowed. That's and generally, people get hard money loans or whatever. You need to make sure you get enough, okay? Because a lot of new investors are like scared to ask for what they want. Nah, man, ask for more. If you can get it, get it. Great. Uh, and then it's escrowed and it's safe, plus a contingency. And then in my own money, I have enough living expenses to get me through a project, also with contingency. If you think it's going to take 3 months, it's not, I promise. Have 6 months or 8 months or 12 months of living expenses put aside. And then if you're able to do that, then really it doesn't necessarily matter, okay? Because a rental and a flip are the same thing. With a flip, you go to sell to the market and you get your money back. Then you have to pay taxes on it at the end of the year. With a rental, you go sell it to the bank in a refinance, right? And so, if you did the deal right, there'll even be a cash out refinance. So it kind of depends. Some of you guys have jobs where you'd be replenishing those living expenses. And if you are replenishing your living expenses, then you could just buy rentals. That's the end goal anyway. Uh, and if not, then you need to flip to replenish your living expenses enough to be able to withstand the rental and another flip to replenish your living expenses again. Right? Did I say that to where it made sense? You got to do the math. It's all about the oil in the machine. It's going to be different for everybody. You got to have enough cash in the bank to cover your living expenses, because when you get your back up against the wall on a flip or a rental or any of that stuff, you start making terrible, terrible decisions that are not good for you. Anybody else? Going once, going twice, flips for cash, own rentals for wealth build. That's right. Exactly. And you got to have short-term cash, medium-term cash, long-term cash. And as you grow, mature in your business, more of that becomes long-term, because the long-term starts making the short-term, i.e. rentals in this case. And truly, guys, I mean, rentals don't make you money at first. They cost you. And over time, it starts to even out. Okay. Well, hey, guys, I appreciate you. This is the first live stream. I think that we should do more of these. I'd love to hear. Hopefully, all you guys are from the community. If not, get in there. There's people in there like you, and there's courses and downloads and all that good stuff. We'll add to that. Tell me what you guys want to see in the next live stream. Post it in the forums or whatever, and we'll try to make a thing of this. All right, guys, have a good day. I have no clue how to exit this out. Hilarious. End stream. Bye bye.